Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, the economy is yet again in turmoil. And we know this, and this has been happening for a while. You've seen record levels of inflation. You've also seen wages stagnate and fall behind in regards to the comparison with the rising inflation. The stock market has been down 5% over the last month. It's dipped 1,600 points or so. And you also see bank failures starting to add up, just like we saw at the onset of the 2008 financial crisis. And this is not good news for everybody, but especially for one individual, the current president of the United States, Joe Biden, especially ahead of the 2024 election. We are less than 11 months away from the Iowa caucuses. And this is true. Biden has not exactly yet filed, but it's widely speculated that he's going to. He's declared his intention to run. And you're currently seeing the Republican primary field start to fill out already. We're sitting here in March of 2023. You're probably going to be seeing some Republican debates within 6 months. So 2024 election season is pretty much in full swing. And with an economy that's in shambles, it's not looking good for Joe Biden. So we're going to dive into this a little bit more. We'll analyze some of the numbers here. We'll look into some of these bank failures. But first, I have to tell you guys about our very good friends over at Noble Gold, because the second and third largest bank failures in history happened last week. The government is taking steps to guarantee all deposits. That means more money printing. Thousands have approached Noble Gold Investments to secure their wealth with gold. It's the most stable asset outside of government control. Hurry and go to noblegoldinvestments.com to secure your wealth and get a free 5-ounce America the Beautiful coin if you qualify. Noblegoldinvestments.com or the link in the description and pinned comment below at redeaglegold.com. So Dow collapsing. And this is an indicator. Some people will say, well, that only impacts the wealthy individuals who own stocks. But a majority of Americans do own stocks. A majority of Americans have stocks in their retirement. They have stocks all over the place. And while you are seeing a little bit of a dead cat bounce, what we do know is that over the past few months or so, we are seeing the stocks start to showcase some volatility. They are just, fluctuating up and down. There's a lot of uncertainty. That's never a good sign for an economy, and we know that. And you talk about the fact that we've seen several bank failures. Biden is going to sit up here and claim that these are isolated scenarios, but you haven't seen any major bank failures going all the way back to the end of the Obama administration, and even then, they were of several billion dollars. If you want to look at the actual largest bank failures in history, these are two out of the three largest, one of them obviously being in 2008, and that's your comparison right there. This is not an isolated incident. You are seeing this. You're seeing these banks consistently sitting on these unrealized losses. They're adding up. And these are not the only banks that are really in limbo here or banks that are failing. You're seeing more getting bailed out from our government. You're seeing them bailed out from foreign governments as well, like Saudi Arabia. And what this does is it consistently encourages bad behavior. These banks are just too big to exactly fail. They're going to keep getting bailed out. They're going to keep, putting the Band-Aid over the gaping wound here. And what this is going to do is it is going to likely end up leading to another financial crisis if this does not stop, because what we do know is this is not an isolated incident. This is not some small feat. You see 2 out of the largest 3 bank failures in the entirety of history taking place over the past week or two. And that's not a good sign for an economy. It's not. The economy's already in turmoil for many. You look at the fact that you have wages stagnant, you have inflation going through the roof. Gas prices are actually going up again significantly. That's something that I've noticed. They've gone up like 40, 50 cents or so over the past couple of months. I mean, you could only delve into those emergency reserves for so long. It can maybe stave off some, midterm election victories for Republicans in the time being, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to catch up to Biden by 2024, and I'm sure he'll try to find a way to shift the blame. He's already blaming Donald Trump for this for some reason. He's already going out there and claiming that everything's fine. It's just an isolated incident, that it's not his fault. But even so, but didn't exactly work for Bush in 2008. That was not enough to save McCain from even losing a close election. He got completely shellacked. He got completely embarrassed. You have unpopular foreign policy. You have an economy in shambles. Biden really is that Jimmy Carter type of figure. One could say, the one-term type of president. The only problem is that the Republican Party consistently does drop the ball here and there. They don't play to win, which again may change in 2024, but obviously I'm not going to be holding my breath about it. You're going to have to see how they navigate the election system, what their messaging is. But if the economy is this much in turmoil, Biden will likely end up getting blamed. Right now, his job approval is not too bad, and there are some outlier polls in there like IBD that has approve and disapprove at 45, even though most polls that have less undecideds than that show his disapproval rating in the mid-50s or so. So it's probably evident that his real approval rating is somewhere around 43, 44%. Typically not going to be good enough. And if you have the economy in shambles, that's likely going to dip down significantly. These things go up, they go down. You have people who sometimes don't pay attention, that'll shift from disapprove when something negative is in the news to approve, obviously. But what we do know is that even though you've had inflation slowing down, his approval rating isn't really going up. And the fact that you're on the verge of potentially another financial crisis would point towards the fact that his approval rating could honestly just keep going down or fall off a cliff or whatever, which would be very bad news for Biden. Honestly, bad news for the country as a whole in regards to the economy. You may see the real estate bubble burst once again for all we know. It's very possible that you see all of these things happen. You didn't see too much of an economic collapse before the 2022 midterms. The economy was not exactly the number one issue for many, as it potentially could have been and what it potentially could be ahead of 2024. And it's just not looking too good for Biden. Those bank failures adding up. We could potentially see more in the coming weeks. And just like what happened in Ohio, he's trying to say everything is fine. He's trying to ignore it. And it is a problem. And even though people will say, well, this can't negatively impact his electoral prospects too much because you'll have people who will vote for him and against Republicans no matter what, that is true to an extent. There is a higher ceiling for any president or political figure that is overseeing an economic failure compared to years in the past because you have ridiculous levels of polarization. But honestly, even if you want to say 2022, a lot of Biden's failures may have been ignored. They weren't really front and center. Biden was not on the ballot in 2022. Just like people blame Trump, Trump was not on the ballot. That arguably hurt Republicans in many places across the rural Midwest where they have these low propensity voters who aren't voting in these midterm years, which Republicans need to do everything they possibly can do to turn out those voters to really rectify that problem. And no pun intended, but if this does continue, the economy will likely trump a lot of the other issues in 2024. Some people will say the midterm failure was because of Roe v. Wade getting overturned. I think that's overblown. It might have energized Democrats here and there a point. But either way, I wouldn't say it was a turning point or anything. I wouldn't say that that's what caused a lot of Republicans to lose. You just saw a lot of Democrat incumbent governors do well. Down ballot, there were some effects there, and you saw Republican incumbent governors do well, and you saw effects there down ballot as well. And you talk about funding. The funding was the issue. The mechanics was the issue in many places where Republicans didn't exactly play to win. That will all need to be rectified ahead of the 2024 election. But what we do know is that Donald Trump in 2020, he oversaw an economy that was in shambles. He wasn't really blamed for it too much. It really wasn't his fault. And you had a massive amount of violence in our cities. You saw riots all over the place. You saw plenty of things, a global pandemic that was affecting the way that a lot of the public may have viewed the leadership at the time. And there were plenty of other factors. The campaign was not necessarily that well run, something Trump has recently admitted during his speeches in Iowa in one way or another. And still, if you flip 20,000 votes or so across 3 swing states, he still would have won. Biden got by the skin of his teeth in the 2020 election. If the economy is in shambles and his approval rating has really dipped since then, his approval or favorability rating was in the low 50s according to most exit polling, which is not entirely accurate, but it's possible it was around there. That's definitely dipped since then. That's definitely changed. And when you talk about the economy being a top issue, you see a lot of these banks just starting to collapse and fail, and you're possibly going to be seeing more over the coming weeks and months. This is definitely something that does not add up to an election victory for Joe Biden, especially if he's going to be going up against somebody like Trump, who already was president and already presided over a solid economy. And if Trump can stay on message and he can relay the facts and the comparison between his administration and Biden's joke of an administration, then it is very possible that in 2024 he will have the upper hand. But there's a lot of things we don't know. There's a lot of things that I'm sure we're going to find out in the next coming weeks about the state of the economy. But the fact that this is happening, the fact the stock market's down, the fact that you see inflation still increasing, even if it's slowed, not exactly the best thing overall. And that much is true. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys next time. Red Eagle, out.